Okay, everyone, we'll get started now. Good afternoon and welcome to the Microdesk webinar series. My name is Laura Guzman. I am the Vice President of Marketing for Microdesk. I want to welcome you to today's webinar, Autodesk Maya for Animation. For those of you who aren't familiar with us, Microdesk is an Autodesk Gold, Oracle, and Google partner. We provide training and technology consulting solutions for the AEC industry. We have 12 offices located throughout the U.S. and a staff of over 90 consulting and technical specialists. So over the next hour, we will take a look at Autodesk's Maya 3D animation software and how it can be used by designers for enhanced visualization techniques. So today we'll be reviewing some of the features of the latest 2012 release and demonstrate some of the most useful features for designers. We'll also take a look at the enhanced capabilities around previsualization in games prototyping, simulation, and pipeline integration. Presenting today's session is Microdesk Solutions Specialist Leo Salce. Leo is an architect by trade and a senior technical specialist with Microdesk. Expert knowledge of the building information modeling process, advanced visualization, and sustainable design. He specializes in providing BIM consulting and training, as well as design content and advanced model creation for architectural and engineering organizations nationally and internationally. He's a lead AP for building design and construction and a registered architect in the Dominican Republic. Leo can frequently be found presenting at industry events and conferences speaking about green and sustainable design techniques. So just a few logistics before we begin. In order to minimize any background distractions, you are all on mute for the duration of this session. However, if you have any questions during the presentation, please feel free to type them into the question area down at the bottom of the webinar toolbar. It should be to the right of your screen. And Leo will address as many of those questions as he can at the end of the presentation. If we do run out of time, we will be happy to provide you with our contact information so you can follow up with us afterwards, and we'll be sure to get back to you. All right, so with that, I will now turn it over to Leo. Leo.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you, Laura, and welcome to Autodesk Maya for Animation. Today's presentation is about showing you what Maya is all about and how it fits into your workflow and the potential of using this tool to just do more than just pretty pictures and animations. So to get started to the middle of the presentation, let's start with what is Maya? Maya, for those of you who don't know, it's a piece of software that offers high-end creative workflow for integrating 3D modeling, animation, visual effects, rendering, and compositing all in one. And it has been used in numerous top games, movies, and television projects. More recently, it's been adopted by other kinds of disciplines and firms that may not have to do anything with film or TV, but you know, things like engineering, automotive, and architecture. Maya 2012, which is on the latest release, delivers new tool sets for pre-visualization, games prototyping. It does have extended simulation capabilities, which I'll talk about in a few. And it does definitely improves more of easily explore, refine, and present ideas prior to final production. And it does have allow you to create wider range of convincing effects in a lot less time. And of course, enjoys smoother multi-application workflow because it allows for collaboration with quite a bit of applications out there. So the first thing is who uses Maya? If you were wondering, like I said before, typically, at least for the last few years, industries like film, games, television, advertising, those were the major companies and industries that actually benefited from Maya. And it's because it was such a powerful tool that allowed to do close integration with, you know, film live video footage with, you know, 3D actual animation and model created within the application, and do compositing within the two. Also, it was very well used by artists, you know, professionals, enthusiasts, and students. But like I said, it's been adopted by more and more people. And the reason why is because first of all, they have a lot more you know, ease of use in their way that you access the tools, but also the collaboration effort has been improved by using formats that are compatible with other very common tools like Revit, AutoCAD, and so forth. So you're able to now use a design tool that is architectural, like Revit Architecture, for instance, and bring in a model onto Maya. So again, the biggest key strengths about Maya are it offers a comprehensive CG pipeline in the box, out of the box. So it means that it includes everything that you need to generate a powerful animation, from modeling to simulation to animation to rendering to match moving if you do have a combination of live footage, and of course compositing capabilities would allow you to combine the two. Maya is used by leading artists to help create innovative entertainment, and both Maya and its developers have garnered numerous awards for technical innovation, so including 3 Academy Awards. So this tool, you've seen probably a lot of movies, and you don't realize that some of the 3D modeling or compositing or visuals have been done in Maya. It offers also advanced simulation capabilities. It does have an extensive set of simulation tools for creating high-quality, realistic fluid, particle, cloth, fur, hair, rigid and soft body dynamics. So dynamics engine that Maya has is one of the most famous. You can compare it to other high-end applications like 3 Studio Max and Softimage, but Maya has always been recognized because it has this simulation tool that allows you to do very realistic effects like rain, snow, hair moving and so forth. And again, it's been used quite a bit of movies, but it can be used for anything that you animate, really. And the fluid effects are actually one of the things that has been enhanced in the latest version, including something new called Nucleus, which I'll explain in a little bit. It also allows for believable characters. If you are in an industry where it requires for you to model not just a stage or an environment, but you also have you need the ability to model characters. Maya has a very high set of tools for creating compelling CG characters. It was used to create villains and heroes like Gollum from The Lord of the Rings, Davy Jones from the Pirates of the Caribbean, and Navi from Avatar. So that can tell you how far you can go in regards to character creation. So again, those are a few of the key strengths, but it's a very complete package. So pretty much anything you need in regards to a whole workflow for creating something from scratch, from just a pencil and scan, and then convert it into an actual model that can later on be texture, lit, and then animated. In regards to Maya key strengths, other additional ones are 3D, the way that you edit things. There's what they call the 3D editorial. Maya offers 3D editing capabilities with what they call the camera sequencer, which features a sequencer playlist. So you can add multi-track audio. It works very well with other non-linear applications like Final Cut Pro if you have an Apple or a Mac, I mean. Ideal for 3D editing animations for previsualization or virtual movie making. It also has been enhanced to now be integrated into a workflow if you're doing conversion for 2D to 3D, which you're going to see more and more lately in movies that have been released and now are re-releasing in 3D. So it does have it integrates into that workflow. In regards to performance, it's engineered to help handle today's very complex data. So it means that more and more you'll see everything from a simple conceptual model that can be generated into a million different pieces just to see, test and simulate conditions for like structural support and so forth, which I'll show you a few examples. But because it's been catching up with the hardware, you'll see that it supports multi-threading, algorithmic tuning. It means that it uses memory management for being able to handle a large amount of data. It's 64-bit support. It does support both Windows and Mac. So there's a native Maya for Mac. And again, it does improve pipeline efficiency. So that means is that you can, all the assets help you better manage large, complex scenes by exchanging data, which is one of the reasons Maya has been becoming more popular among different industries that were using it. So for instance, now from AutoCAD you can directly export as a DWG, or you can export as a FBX, as well as other tools from Autodesk that would support FBX format data exchange technology like Modbox, Motion Builder, and so forth, including Softimage, which is one of the other high-end applications. So, there's a very improved pipeline efficiency in case you have a company that uses one software versus the other, or if you want to complement each other with different applications. So in regards to other key strengths, I would say it's very highly customizable. So it means that it offers multiple avenues for customization. So companies that wish to integrate 3D tools in different or more tightly into their pipeline, you can add specialized production tools as far as if you learn the programming Maya embedded language, which is called MEL, you're able to create plugins, you're able to add scripting and automate a lot of processes. And of course, you can find a lot online, and there's even people that capitalize on that and sells you add-ons that will do maybe things instead of in 10 steps, they might do it in 1 step. Also, he offers Python scripting as well as C++ and API, C++ API. So again, it's a very easy to learn tool compared to other applications out there. There's a lot of resources online. There's first-class Autodesk training. You can sign up. There's documentation that comes with Maya that is very, very good. There's also third-party books, DVDs, tutorials, training facilities, and of course, a lot of resources to match anyone's learning style. So there's a very large online community of 3D professionals. If you go to websites like The Area or CG Architects or there's actually tons of, just type in Maya or 3D animation and the name Maya will come up most likely. So if you use a Mac, it's one of the benefits because Maya and Windows and Mac, you have a native support for both. So if you have a Mac OS X software all optimized for Apple 64-bit, you can get the most out of the Mac. Autodesk offers a set of high-end digital production tools from sculpting through 3D animation and high-quality editorial and creative finishing. I mentioned that there's a community online that is pretty extensive. The biggest one I would say is The Area, where you can see, you can get invaluable resource for everyone, from students to artists looking for expert advice and so forth. So there's definitely quite a bit out there. And it's now on its 2012 release. So one of the things that you're going to see if you already use Maya is some very nice improvements that are just to highlight a few of them. You can see that 2012 now delivers a whole set of tools that are either new options that were not there or very good improvements on the previous ones like the Viewport. There's some Viewport enhancements that I'm going to show you in a minute. There's now node-based render passes, and I'll explain what those are. Editable motion trails, sequencer enhancements, substance procedural textures. For those of you who don't know, I'll mention what those are. There's new simulation options like the Nucleus enhancement that I mentioned earlier, and I'll actually go through each of them, or at least the ones that are very relevant. When I said Viewport enhancements, there's something that you'll see in more and more of the Autodesk applications now, and it's the ability to, before rendering, to visualize it on the Viewport to test not only lighting and shadowing and material texture, but also the ability to show and test maybe some simulation without having to pre-render it, without having to process it, which is a very time-saving feature. Because for those of you who don't know, every time you want to simulate whether it's the effect of water falling through a wall or maybe something hitting, like maybe the wind hitting a flag, all those effects you usually need to process them and see it. You don't see it real time. That's what I'm saying. So what do you have as enhancements for the Viewport? Well, now the high-performance Viewport introduced with Maya 2011 and 2012 offers full screen effects. That means motion blur. That's one of the coolest things. If you ever see the motion blur, you can select the object you want to see kind of in the back or the ones that want to kind of blend in with the environment. It produces depth of field without recalculating, ambient occlusion to kind of integrate the lighting effect with the material. And it enables really artists to evaluate their work in a higher fidelity environment without the need to render or export to a games engine. Moreover, Viewport 2.0, which is now the latest version, it provides component and manipulator display to support modeling workflow. together with batch rendering capabilities. So again, these are just a few in relation to just the viewports. In regards to node-based render passes, pretty much what now you are able to do is create and edit node-based representations of render passes directly within Maya and render the composite output directly through main array render. So for those of you who don't know what rendering passes are, it's if you're thinking of a green screen where you're rendering maybe overlapping a person in the back and the front of a green screen, you can render pieces of elements that you later can compose. So for instance, I can render the sky, and then I can render the person, I can render the building, and then I can later on within Maya output each one individually, so I can later on, you can use these for helping verify and refine pretty much the prior to handling to the compositor. All those tasks have been already created without leaving Maya. So it's pretty neat. Another thing that is new is the editable motion trails. I don't know depending on the type of work that you do, you'll see I've done projects where people ask me several different kinds of requests, and it will depend on the goal. Like for instance, I remember one where the client asked if there was a way to show it was a specific kind of Kevlar fabric that you need to show how the bullet will go in and kind of was shot out, and then you needed to kind of calculate what the speed was going to be of the bullet, and then how it went through or hit the Kevlar jacket, and then you needed to calculate the path. But then it was a little tricky to kind of be able to not only measure things like dynamics, gravity, speed, but also track and tweak path. So now one of the things you can do, even just for purpose of animation without any specific realistic calculations, is edit animation directly in the viewport without the need of to switch context to the graph editor. For those of you who have done it in the past, you need to do it in a more manual way with a graphic editor. And now with the new editable motion trail, that provides a faster and easier method for fine-tuning your motion animation. Whether it's a path, whether it's a camera that you're telling it to follow a path and go around and do like a roller coaster, just go up and go down and, changing that simulation. You can now intuitively edit the position and timing of keyframes in relation to the animated object. So this is great, even if you do a simple walkthrough for an architectural presentation where you need to see maybe a car going through a fence, the fence opening, and then seeing the car going through, and kind of see and time every object being animated and kind of interact with the other objects, and all while viewing the path of the motion over time in 3D space, which in turn results in a smoother and a more productive workflow. And that's actually very common on any kind of field. I mean, everybody animates a camera, and whether the camera is for purposes of showing a car, for an automotive presentation, showing the camera path on a walkthrough, showing a building, or even just for a character showing a particular scene, and if something happened, this is definitely one of the things that are pretty that makes things easier. This is what I was referring before, sequencer enhancements. For those of you who do any kind of editing or are familiar with like the Mac iMovie or the Windows Movie Maker, Movie Maker, that's the name, or even Final Cut or Adobe Premiere or all of those, a timeliner, what they call now the sequencer, it's a very nice integration into Maya's workflow. And if you're familiar with any of those, it's like editing a movie where you can now you can do a lot more things. And it was introduced in 2011, and it has been enhanced in 2012. The camera sequencer, what it does is now extended to offer a sequencer playlist. So what that allows you to do is, the artist can now manage their sequences through a configurable spreadsheet. And the spreadsheet view can provide the ability to reorder clips, edit in and out points for fading in, fading out, and so forth, change the camera assignment, together with support for multi-track audio. So it means that you can now have the ability to output multiple shots as a single sequence for easier game cinematic rendering or export to a games engine. When I mentioned this, exporting to games engine, this is becoming popular across different disciplines. More and more, you'll see not only on the gaming industry, but on even engineering and architectural for a more interactive experience where you can export out of this using, let's say, the sequencer enhancement, and then you're able to use, there's several options out there, games engines where you can bring in the Maya 3 Studio Max models that can come in from programs like Revit or AutoCAD, and that you can explore without the knowledge. So it means that it becomes like an executable file that you navigate like a game, like a video game. Anyway, other things that are new are the substance procedural textures. By default, this one came with 80 substance procedural textures, and this is something that is changing and growing. So think of it like smart, very smart texture material that you apply. So now you can achieve a vast range of looks, variations, with a whole library of 80 substance procedural maps, textures. This dynamic resolution texture, what they have a tiny disk space footprint. So those of you who ever work with any kind of visualization program knows that if you use certain materials, the materials have sometimes a very large bitmap that gets attached to it, and sometimes it's one of the things that if you have a big scene, it's going to really drag down your processing speed, and it's going to take longer to render. So anyway, what these are is they're resolution-independent textures that can be exported to certain game engines via what they call the substance air middleware, and also they are textures that can be quickly converted to bitmaps for rendering. They dynamically editable and animatable. So they have parameters that you can change and animate, like brick distribution, surface aging. That's pretty cool. If you ever see one of those Discovery Channel documentaries, like what happens after people disappear in the planet, you'll notice that they have animations like a can of Coke, kind of what happens if after 100 years, does that degrade, or you can see an effect of a material kind of aging. So that's something that you can now control through parameters. If you were to do that manually, that would take a little bit of work trying to accomplish that kind of effect. So again, this is great even to show a sequence of constructions for like brick distribution. You can rearrange things, mortar thickness in a brick wall, or even things are more specific to maybe animation in general for characters, like changing the pupil size, eye color, extent of the veining and eye texture, the age, roughness, curved borders, and lay markings on a street texture, for example. So what that means is that not only do you have now a piece of texture, it's a piece of texture that has smart properties that you can change, which is really cool. Eventually, you will see that this is going to give you the potential of, like I was mentioning, have street that you can just change the laning markings on it by assigning it. So it's not just no longer one dumb picture that you just apply and readjust it and texture the way you're used to. Other things that you have available are what they call craft animation tools. What this allows you to do is easily create believable complex camera movements that mimic the real world. So now what it allows you to do is create a camera rig. If you think about a camera rig, it's a setup. Like if you had a camera for 3D recording, that already is set up to have two eyes being shut at the same time to generate that 3D effect. Same thing here. You have four new camera rigs from what they call the Craft Director Studio animation tool, and you can use a joystick to record real-time input while driving the camera, stabilize the turbulent or unnatural camera movements, add shakiness to an existing camera, animated camera, or more smoothly transition or instantly cut between different camera views and settings. Also, there are 4 pre-rig models, 2 cars, 2 airplanes, and you can use to help simulate complex vehicle motion. Terrain recognition, there's for previsualization or in-game cinematics. So imagine if you're able to generate a camera that if you have a piece of topography, you can use it to kind of go around the edges and feel like either, it's projected from that path and, the sloping of the terrain, for instance. Also, well, it kind of falls into, I'm not sure if you've ever seen kind of behind the scenes of movies like Avatar. It can be used for generating, it's like grabbing a camera realistically and moving it around and feeling it if you were walking down the stairs, if you're jumping, if you're shaking. So all of that can now be done within Maya, like if it was a real effect with a virtual camera. Other things are the enhanced unified graph editor. So what that is an enhanced graph editor that takes some of the best features from what they call the F-curves editors from Maya and combines them into a unified toolset with consistent terminology. And overall what it does is enable animators to switch more easily between products. So you can, generate the option to sync what's displayed on the timeline, a graph editor, with what's selected in the channel box, and isolate selection options and so forth. This is more specific to people that are used to using the tools for like isolation, region tools, and so forth. This is one of the coolest things, new simulation options. What these allow you to do is you can now create compelling dynamic effects in less time. And with these new simulation tools that incorporate, this industry-leading technology into Maya, now anybody can leverage the multi-threaded NVIDIA physics, which for those of you who do have the graphic card or the potential to use the NVIDIA physics engine to create static, dynamic, and kinematic rigid body simulations directly in the viewport. This I mentioned briefly early on. What this means is that you can now see an explosion, you can now see fireworks, you can now see smoke, you can now simulate water right on the viewport without having to render it. So you can do rigid simulations directly in the viewport and gain the ability to match a runtime solution. So what does that allow you to do? It allows you to do, for instance, what-if scenarios. So if, let's say you had, you were doing a simulation of flooding, and you had a building that had maybe a wall breaking where the water would go, you can now in real time put a column or maybe shut down the wall or move it and see what happens with the water, where does that go. And it kind of simulates, it does a highly realistic shattering simulation, and it does give you kind of an automatic smart calculation that helps simulate certain effects that are pretty common in nature, such as smoke going through a window, where's that going to go, and so forth. And what it does is it kind of interacts with materials more easily and achievable, and it has a newly included digital molecular model plugin from Pixelux Entertainment. So all of that is included within the Maya 2012 interface. This is what I mentioned earlier about one of the dynamics enhancements. Nucleus enhancements, what it does is it furthers the development of the simulation framework and its associated modules. And what it does, it delivers, improved liquid simulation with pouring, splashing, boiling effects, multi-threaded particle collisions, and it does it in a, faster performance and a range of easy-to-use effects, like I said before: fire, smoke, dust trail, fireworks, laser, melt snow, you name it. And all those can be assigned to an object as easily as assigning a material. And I'll show you a couple of those enhancements in videos so you can see what I'm referring to. Actually, since I'm at it, let me just show you exactly what I'm referring to. I'll show you one of the effects for the liquid, for instance. If I show in here on the screen, you will see that by dropping, for example, a piece of object that can be recognized as water, for instance, you can see the effect. You can see the splashing in real time. You can animate it. You can see how the water, all the drops are moving. And if you ever place something or adjust the length of the tank, you're going to see that everything is going to be adjusted automatically. Everything can be simulated in different shading. You have a whole set of procedural materials that are embedded in the program. So all of this is automatic. So it means that you can test what-if scenarios. And this is just an example of water, but you have a lot of other things you can test, like smoke. You can have fire and so forth. And again, you can test it on different containers. Like you can see here, what happens if something breaks? Is that going to splash? Is that going to all the different conditions that would physically be calculated as far as in a real world scenario. So anyway, so again, you have improved simulation in regards to objects like water, and then it's all about this new feature called the Nucleus, which was added in the last release and is now enhanced to simulate all these effects faster and in real time. Other things that are additional, and I could talk for another hour just mentioning some of the new enhancements. There are quite a bit, definitely worth the upgrade. And a few other things are single steps. You can now do single-step suites interoperability. What that means is you can take advantage of a whole range of 3D tools with in the Autodesk Maya suite. So I don't know if you are familiar, but now Autodesk, or actually for a while, but now it integrates it into what they call the suite. So now instead of having Maya on its own, you can have single-step workflows that go directly from one program to the other. So maybe you do animation for characters that require movement, like a character dancing or character walking and so forth. Then you can integrate Maya with motion building, for instance. Or if you do sculpting and you start doing things that are more complex to model, and you use something that requires maybe character paint facing, like if you were molding something with clay, there's a Modbox. So Modbox is very popular, in the industry in regards to doing complex modeling, but used in a different kind of modeling technique, which is paint sculpting. Anyway, so you can take from point A to point B, from Maya to motion building, from Maya to Modbox, or go from Maya to 3 Studio Max, or Maya to Softimage. So what that means is that you now have all this interoperability, and if you require an additional software that within the Autodesk realm allows you to accomplish a particular process faster, there's a very tight integration, and that's the best part. There's human IK enhancements, so it means that it's easier now for both Maya and Motion Builder 2012 to unify solvers between the two. So there's a more consistent workflow if you want to do character control and graphical characterization. Anyway, there's also other things like vector displacement. You can now support vector displacement maps in Maya 2012. So that means you can use MetalRay, which is a very common engine for processing the rendering in AutoCAD, Revit, Max, Maya. And you can now render complex high-resolution details created in other programs like Modbox or certain other packages that are low-resolution geometry. So you can, have a very low polygon look like something, that has a million different vertices on it. Again, there's other things like motion capture examples that can leverage the advanced motion retargeting capabilities of Maya 2012 with 70 motion capture samples that provide useful starting points. What that means is that you can now use a lot more if you're a new user to get started, and there's a lot of assets available within the program that you can start, testing for learning purposes. The Python API, for those of you who are a little more familiar with Python scripting, you can now enjoy easier, more powerful ways to extend and customize Maya. So because it now has the Python API that offers more idiomatic Pythonic commands. So Python is software that, is a programming language that you can use that is very popular among different platforms that are famous. Even Facebook web page uses Python. So there's a lot of command writing capabilities that you can now use within Maya. Other things has providing a comprehensive solution. I mentioned that Autodesk provides this whole thing as far as anybody that wants to jump in and start modeling, animating, rendering. There's all these different packages, but Maya is one of the more complete and enhanced and high-end applications because it includes all of this. And in addition to accessing Maya, if you want to start playing with it, you can go to the Autodesk website, download the 30-day trial, and you have access to also learning tools. There's other things that you can find from the website, from like the area where you can find subscription offerings, consulting services, and a whole palette of 2D and 3D entertainment and design visualization tools. So one of the things I mentioned early, and I want to make sure that I mention this now, is the Maya for architecture. It's a tool that wasn't intended to be integrated with programs, drafting programs like AutoCAD, Revit, and so forth, but is now, due to the fact of using multiple format compatibility, like the FBX, you now have the power of Maya for architects, which now allows you the flexibility to generate architectural forms and shapes, and it offers a very robust platform with extensive modeling toolsets that can complement the building information model during the conceptualization. So architects can develop their own rules in Maya, and over the last decade, architectural design has become more reliant on the limited form making of their software packages. They're increasingly getting better, but there's always limitations, and they're pretty tight in the way you do things, so you always have to come up with workarounds. So there's a new generation of architects that is exploring the potential of using Maya or other more complex tools to generate conceptual designs outside of the architectural profession. And although it may look like an unlikely candidate, Maya is a tool that was initially designed for character modeling in the animation film industry, but it has become very, very influential in conceptual design for other packages, and now for search of new architectural forms. There's actually famous architectural firms in the world like Hasid. You can see a few examples if you just go on YouTube and type Maya architecture. You'll see quite a bit of buildings there. But anyway, the way that you can achieve very, very more complex forms early on that can be later on brought in into your design package is now being increased, and is less limited to what it used to be. And now you see architects that use Maya for for a tool for design, for conceptual designs, to make the decisions early on, and really for pretty much manipulating things that are very complex in as far as surfaces. And anyway, you can really achieve a whole set of organic geometry, not only using the default tools, but combining it with the existing CAD or BIM tool that you currently use. So this is an example, for instance, of an outdoor canopy, pretty much a one surface with a firm contour, and all it took was with a set of elements like surfaces via lofting curves. There was a thickness to the surfaces that can act as architectural components, and you can change things like scaling, curves, and every element within as far as color and texture. This is another example of a structural envelope of connector structural shells, and it's nothing other than a loft surface between different solids and individual surfaces that are assigned a transparent material. And there's things called the use isoparms and extrusions that create those mullions that you see in between. So you can definitely generate something very complex in a very shorter amount of time compared to other applications that are not designed to do this kind of work. You can see another example here for using a kind of Meson Domino, where you can use a web of network polygonal surfaces that form the plates, interior, exterior, for the structure and stair circulation. Pretty something more complex, something more organic, and of course looks more like a science fiction model. But there's quite a bit of architects now that have used Maya, at least on the beginning of their conceptual model, to later on generate and bring it into their into the design package. So this is a good example where you can have flat floor plates integrated in a manifold surface that passes from one or more facades through the floors, and through one or more of the opposite facades. You can see that the elevation is composed of extruded nerves, shapes modify into ornamental patterns. So something more like this. So again, pretty much polygons that are combined with holes and what they call pattern nerves facade. So pretty neat, something that wouldn't take you for a long time to generate, as long as you know different modeling techniques to approach it. And one last thing I want to mention is you can take advantage of what they call the Maya Subscription Advantage Pack. So just know that Autodesk applications like Maya, 3 Studio Max, there's this service called subscription where you can sign up and you can get additional benefits as far as new extensions and add-ons that will take the default user interface and add some capabilities that you don't have. For instance, the new subscription package for 2012 has what they call the alembic point catching, which allows you to now collaborate in what they call the Alembic Open Computer Graphics Framework format, which was developed by Sony Pictures and Lucasfilm. So it means that now you can collaborate with more complex formats that may not be directly associated to just traditional drafting and modeling, more on the film industry kind of standard. Also, you have a new high-performance open-source AMD Bullets physics engine, which is is another option that allows you to continuously, generate 3D collision detection, enable simulation of both soft and rigid bodies in a single system which use a rich set of constraints. Anyway, all of those are additional features that you have access to through the Subscription Advantage Pack, and I would definitely recommend, if you already have Maya or if you're thinking about Maya, definitely it's something to look at. And there's a whole set of productive and efficient tools are there for the purpose of taking your concept, whether it's a scan drawing that you drew by hand that you bring into Maya, or just simply collaborate with other platforms out there like AutoCAD and so forth. So anyway, this is only so much. We only had so much time. I wanted to show you what Maya is all about, what the capabilities are. I know that there's a lot you can do within the program in regards to animation. If you want to see animations that are if you want to see examples, you can just type in on Google or on YouTube, Maya for animation or Maya sample videos, and there's a ton of different case studies, or there's a ton of different portfolios or reels that people have created over the years that show you kind of how things have been evolving and their capabilities. I wanted to focus more on what's there behind the scenes, so you can see everything that can be done. And in regards to the video, I like usually pointing somebody when it comes to videos to a particular site. That way you don't see the choppiness usually that you see with the live presentations in a conference. Anyway, so let's leave room for some questions, and hopefully you found this useful as far as understanding what the program does and what it can do, and the potential of integrating into your workflow.
All right, thank you, Leo. Really exciting stuff. I look forward to seeing what else they come out with in the coming releases of the product. So everyone, I hope you enjoyed today's webinar, and if you have any questions for us, again, feel free to enter them into that questions area down at the bottom of the webinar control panel, and we'll start answering some of those for you now. So Leo, I do have a couple here for you to get things started. You mentioned how Maya is starting to be leveraged more and more for architecture, so this one goes a little bit along that. Can you import Revit directly into Maya? Is that possible?
Actually, the answer is yes, the short answer. Maya allows for what they call direct connect, DWG export, import. So although it may not open directly the file, just like most of their high-end visualizations, it allows for you to export out of Revit into both formats, FBX, which is a more complete format and a better supporter in a more efficient workflow, and a DWG as well. So you have two ways to get the format out of Revit and then bring it in as a FBX or DWG into Maya. And if you use the FBX, a lot of the modeling, actually all of the modeling geometry, all of the material texturing, and as far as some of the things as far as lighting and even the camera comes in into the FBX format and directly from Revit into Maya. So yeah, definitely a workflow that I've seen been happening more and more lately.
Great. All right. So another question that I have here, again along the lines of how to apply Maya for the architecture design field. You highlighted a little bit about the simulation feature. Are any companies starting to use that simulation feature to test scenarios like similar to Ecotech and doing energy simulations and things like that, or is it more for visualization at this point?
It's a good question. Actually, there are companies, and usually the firms that are using this kind of technology are, firms that are more globally known. The one I was mentioning was the one in London, Sahat Haid, and you can go if you want more information. If you go on our on the Autodesk website, just look at case studies, and you'll see under Maya there's going to be a few sample firms that are using Maya for this kind of purposes. Now, to continue on that same question, the ability of doing actual simulation is possible, and the thing is that it requires a little more. Right now, it's more used for visual and in the early conceptual design part. For more advanced simulation, it requires a person be more savvy with the software, which you can. So all the tools are there to generate actual, realistic, calculations for like gravity, everything that goes from how an object is, creates a friction if it hits a ball at the ground, and then how that's going to be bouncing and what's the force and the energy carrying it. But the short answer would be yes, it can be used for simulation. But right now, at least on the architecture engineering world, I see it more for visualization and more of a presentation tool that can be later on brought into your design tool for further analysis.
Okay, great. All right, I've got one more question here for you right now. So again, kind of along the lines of applying it to the building industry, it looks like what would be some of the advantages of using Maya for building design versus something like Navisworks and doing visualizations in there?
Oh, number one is Navisworks, for instance, is a tool that you don't really model anything. It is mainly used for bringing in models that exist into that program for mainly programmed clash detection. And although it has some nice features for rendering, it doesn't compare it doesn't really it can achieve the level of realism that Maya can give you. And if you're looking for a program that can support the formats, they both can. The only thing that Navisworks is designed exactly for just one thing, which is bring in models. It doesn't model anything. It doesn't create. It just helps bring in different objects into one place so you can start generating some kind of clash reporting. And then it allows you to animate certain things in regards to maybe do phasing in construction and so forth. But you can do the same thing in Maya. The ability with Maya is that you have 10 times more options in regards to how you want that animation to look like. You can change not only the visuals in regards to how it's going to be photorealistic, you want to sketch it, you can also control camera movement. Any object in Maya can be animated. Navisworks, although it has some scripting, is very limited to how you control that animation. So in terms of generating visuals, they are two different tools. And Maya is designed to create, to generate everything from scratch if you wanted to, and also to work with other applications at the same time, but to give you a higher level of control. And for some people that's very important. If you notice, if you look at an animation generated from Navisworks versus one generated from Maya, it's like the difference from the sun to the moon kind of thing. So they're both great tools, but each one specializes at their own thing. And although one can do what the other one does, Maya definitely takes the lead when it comes to the visuals and the rendering and the animation.
Great. All right. Well, Leo, I think that's all the questions we have for today. But anyone with us today, if you still have questions, feel free to email Leo down there at the bottom, or we have some additional contact information here. You can email us at webinars@microdesk.com, and we'll be sure to get back to you and help you answer any of those questions. So again, thank you for attending today. We appreciate your time and hope you found it helpful and educational. And like I said, you can contact us here if you have any questions. Also, if you have if you are interested in finding out more information, on our website you can find some links to more details about Maya, about other free webinars and events, classroom training, and lots of other resources. So please feel free to check those out. And again, thank you for your time today. We look forward to seeing you at a future session. Thank you.
Thank you.